Welcome back to the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased, except ours. I'm Colin,
I'm Craig.
And I'm Daniel.
and today we're talking about the King Kong movies, as that giant hairy monkey is turning 90 this year. 90 years old for a big monkey. We're going to be talking about the original 1933 movie, the 76 remake, and the 2005 remake. So with that being said...
What about Skull Island?
Shut up. The original King Kong came out in 1933, and I believe it was in March of 1933. And for its time, it was completely groundbreaking. And I can only imagine that when this came out, how the audience's mind must have been blown like JFK. It must have been so awesome to see.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Especially because this was before, like Universal even started coming out with like their monster movies and stuff. I think the only one that came out was like Frankenstein at this point. So it definitely was a big jump into like special effects for that time and everything.
Because was this like the first big movie to use like stop motion in this way?
No, but it was the first one where the camera was kind of moving around with stop motion.
Oh.
And there's some cool tricks in the movie that they did to make Kong look like he was interacting with people. Like there's the one scene where he's holding Fay Ray and he's peeling her clothes off like a creep. They had Fay Ray in an actual Kong arm, and they had the Kong model placed over a screen that already had the footage of Fay Ray, and then they moved the Kong model to match the movement because they used like ropes to peel her clothes off. There's like very, very clever ways they used to make Kong interact with things.
I imagine it must have been a huge pain, but it was definitely worth the effort.
Oh yeah, 100%. So I guess let's briefly talk about the movie. I feel like everybody knows the basic story of the movie, and apparently also, Carl Denham is based off of Marion C. Cooper, the guy who co-directed the movie with Ernst B. Schoedsack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything else to say? What did you like about it? What did you like?
See, it's weird because I've only, up until this point, I've only ever seen the 2005 one. So it was just weird finally seeing the original. It's like, oh, that's where they got this from. That's where they got that from.
I mean, I guess we'll have to talk about the differences later, but I like Denham in this movie a lot because he's not a jerk. And he's actually good. He has a good heart. And he shows regret at the end. Like, he's not a scumbag.
Yeah. Even though I do like that Carl Denham in the 05 one. Jack Black does play that well. Like, you don't like
we'll
him,
talk about him specifically later, but...
Yeah.
I think also, boy, Jack Driscoll, how dated he is. I think I told Craig that when I rewatched it, I was laughing when when Jack was falling for Anne on the Venture, she says something like, "Oh, Jack, I thought you hate women." It's just, oof.
Like, no, I just hate women on ships.
Yeah. And ironically enough, the screenplay that they used to film the movie was written by a woman, too.
Really?
It was written by Ruth Rose, because the official credits, I think, go to James Creelman and Ruth Rose, but Ruth Rose wrote the draft that is in the movie. Or that the movie used, rather.
I mean, like, another thing, too, is like how Jack Driscoll definitely is more of just like a typical hero.
Yeah.
Like, he's the first mate, the action man. Because, yeah, my only frame of reference is the 2005 one. So he was kind of like, multiple characters from the 05 one.
We have Captain Eaglehorn, and he doesn't really do anything. He's friends with Denham in this one. And I think also that in this one, like, it's pretty fast-paced for the most part.
Yeah.
For its 100-minute runtime. Like, they don't really dilly-dally with anything.
And I think at least compared to the '05 one, again, that's my favorite
You stop
reference. But like,
comparing it to the '05 one. We're talking about this one, Craig.
no, but like I think that I actually tried to. Yeah, I guess I'll stop.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think of other things for this one because I don't have a whole lot to say about this one per se.
Yeah, I mean, because this one, it's obviously an instant classic for a reason, but like you're saying, it's just pretty straightforward. Like, there's no, there's no like trying to develop. There's not necessarily as much as a sympathetic approach to Kong. It's just,
Well, it's not the point of it, really.
yeah. I was looking it up, and this is actually ranked as a horror film.
It is pretty horrifying what happens to the crew in the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. But no, it's just funny because I never looked at it as like a horror film. You
It's
know,
more of an adventure film, like a
yeah,
action adventure.
yeah. But I guess when it comes with with that time and everything, and like it's pretty brutal. Like you're saying, like what happens to the crew and everything. I can see why it would be deemed a horror film,
So this,
but
yeah, you continue. Sorry.
no, but like to your point, like I don't really have too much to say on it because it kind of just gets to the point. It's a simple, straightforward story, and it's I don't know. It's really kind of it. Like there isn't,
It's groundbreaking, obviously, for its
yeah.
time.
But like when you look back now, comparing it to the other ones, not getting into it yet, it's pretty it's just straightforward. There isn't like too much to say on it.
I have two things to say. One thing that I do not like in the movie is the giant laughable Kong model for when like he's smiling and whatnot, and he looks creepy. I do not like that. It looks so weird. It looks nothing like the head of the model. And I know Willis O'Brien, the guy who did the stop motion, did not like that thing in the movie. 'Cause that thing was like 20 feet, or like 15 feet tall, that model, because it was just, they just built the chest up. It just looks so goofy.
Him
Yeah,
smiling.
I always see like in memes like the goofy face.
Yeah, he's literally smiling.
Colin, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of when in Terminator 2 when
Oh,
Arnold was
Arnold
trying to
smiles.
smile.
I think the other thing is that what's heavily disputed in this movie, at least, is the spider pit sequence, because apparently some people don't even think that it was filmed. There are production stills that exist, but people don't know what happened to it. The scene is probably 100% lost. But they said the reason why they cut out the spider pit sequence was for two reasons. One was pacing, and the other could have been that it horrified the audience. So, and then the audience was distracted by that sequence for the rest of the movie, so they cut it out because they thought it was distracting.
Which again, it kind of goes back to Daniel saying how the people thought this is a horror movie. Like I think there's nothing horror about it, but like if people were scared by what's in this movie already, I can only imagine how much horrified they'd be with that spider pit
Yeah.
sequence.
Yeah, especially like you take into the time like even looking at like the Universal monster movies, like they only showed they maybe showed one kill a movie. Like
A guy gets eaten by like a brontosaurus in this movie on a tree.
yeah, yeah, because what if Frankenstein was the only one to come out, like he strangled someone, and then like the only one of the other kills, it was off scene, and then the last one where he throws the doctor on the windmill, like that's about it. That's all they showed.
Yeah,
So
Kong
this is
bites people, steps on people.
Are we just desensitized?
Yes.
probably
I mean, Kong rips apart a dinosaur's jaw and breaks it.
Yeah, he plays with it.
He kills like a plesiosaur in his cave. He like breaks its neck and like slaps it around. He's so violent in this movie, and I love it.
well that's
Big ape.
yeah. I know it's. I almost want to compare it right now,
No,
but
not
we
yet.
can't.
We're talking about the original one, Daniel.
Well,
Don't
it was
get
just
don't
about.
get the ants in your pants.
I was just gonna say is that's one thing I kind of
Well, we'll just save
I
it for
like.
save it for the 2005 one.
No. Without comparing it to the other ones, I do like that Kong was just like a straight animal. Like there wasn't a sympathetic approach to him. Like he was just brutal, and he's just a giant monster on this island, and that's that. I did like that appeal to him.
I think we do have to address that apparently lots of people over the years are trying to say that this movie is racist. And for anyone who's curious, Marion C. Cooper devised the idea of Kong because he, as a kid, always loved those safari African books about animals. And then he said one day he envisioned a giant monkey like on top of the tallest building in New York, I believe. So he was always fascinated by that, by animals too. And like I said, Marion C. Cooper, like the character Carl Denham is based off of him because they mentioned that Denham was he'd make like adventure and wild animal pictures and stuff.
Yeah,
He's literally
it was
based
like
off
exotic.
Of, yeah, he's
It was
literally based
exotic
off of Cooper.
wildlife. Yeah.
So
Everybody, you see that everything now, like, oh, it's old, so it must be like racist or something. It's just a tired complaint.
yeah, if anything, it's more about like the Beauty and the Beast. If anything,
but this is also like supposed to be more of like a spectacle, like all the stuff with King Kong. It's not meant to be like anything more than that. Like again, people are just looking into stuff to complain about.
it is pretty sad. Not sad, but like I guess we should also talk about the music too, because I think this is one of the first movies that had like a soundtrack that was attached to the movie. Because before it'd be like up for interpretation, like the silent movies wouldn't have a sound effect or a soundtrack played with it per se. I'm not explaining it well, but pretty much this is like one of the first movies that had an actual soundtrack to it mixed with the audio, and I thought it was pretty good. It's pretty like bombastic and loud, but still like horrifying at the same time. Oh no, I liked it. I guess you guys didn't like it either. Just silence.
I liked it, but it wasn't like. Then I mean, I only seen it one time, so I haven't like come back to listen to it.
Well, I was only listening during the movie, but whatever.
I don't really remember, to be honest.
Overall, though, I think the first one is just iconic, especially with the line, "No, it wasn't the airplanes. It was Beauty killed the Beast." So iconic, this movie, and it's 90 years old now, which is crazy.
Yeah. I find it like it not funny, but it's cool that like it's just such a simple movie. Like yeah, it can feel dated, but I appreciate like more of these kinds of movies where there's no like other stuff in it, like there's no like social issue. It's just a straightforward movie.
It's about the action, the adventure.
Yeah.
What say you, Craig? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. It's a good movie, but actually, I don't have a but. That's really it.
But it's not
just
the
old.
05
I mean,
one.
Yeah. So Daniel said dated, and I find that word funny because I think out of the three Kong movies, the 1976 remake is the most dated out of all of them.
I was gonna make a comment about that too.
I mean, I guess we should this one we could talk more about the changes because they changed so much in this one.
Well, when I say 33, I don't mean like Kong necessarily. His element is like dated, but more like you're saying about Jack.
I think in this one, the 76 one with the effects itself is just dated.
No.
That's how I was
no.
More dated than the 33 one, I would say. I think the 33 one aged better than this one.
Oh, 100%.
Which is shocking.
Well, because black and white can blend it better, I think. You can, because they like, especially in certain parts of this one, like you can clearly, especially on the log scene, you can clearly see the screen. It's not
just the log scene. It's every scene that they use blue screen. It sticks out like a sore thumb. And
the log scene though, I thought that wasn't blue screen. I thought that was just like a painted background that was so bad.
Well, no, they do use a blue screen to put in the matte painting in the background.
I
would argue that the 33 one aged better, not because it was in black and white, because they used their effects wisely. Whatever they had, they used very wisely. Not everything was a blue screen like in this thing.
No, I agree, but also black and white, it seems you can blend it a bit better, if that makes sense.
I don't think it's necessarily that. It's just you know your limitations, and I feel like this one they try to do too much because they're like, oh, we have a blue screen, we could add this and do this and do that, and it looks so terrible.
I said 33 was old just because mean, it is old. Like you're saying, it's the 90th anniversary.
Yeah, but especially not just but the another scene that stuck out to me was when Kong was holding her in his hand, and he's
But you could
like
see
trying
through
to
her
like
hair or
he's
something.
no, he's like trying to
Oh,
undress her, and you can clearly tell the difference of like they shot the footage of her on on the hand on like the big hand, and then they screened it in when it was the guy in the costume, and it was like a night and day.
oh
You can
yeah.
see he's just standing in front of a screen,
There's some
and then
scenes where you could see through Jessica Lange's hair on the blue screen because I don't know why. I guess they didn't light it properly. But this one, the 76 one, changes so much, and I for one do not like this one at all. I think it's pretty bad.
Boring.
yeah, I think this one's the is easily the worst one. Not saying that the other two are bad, but this one is the weakest out of the three.
It is. I mean, I
Well,
I,
I
I
just want to see when you were
appreciate.
talking about dated. I just want to add something real quick.
Yes.
Even just like part of the plot was dated. I felt like they're all talking about like the gas crisis and like gas this, energy that. I'm like, that's a very 70s thing.
Well, I was just talking about the effects felt more dated than the 33 one.
No, but I'm saying even like I think the story felt dated too. Like they're all worried about like gas and stuff, and it feels like again, no one's gonna care, and
I
people don't care today.
And also too, Kong's outfit clearly looked like a guy in a costume.
I think his suit looked pretty good. He would
Really?
like. I thought it looked pretty good. The suit.
I thought his look was cool, but I don't know. I guess with how they blended the effects, it really kind of
Well,
makes it more
it's
look
the
like a
blue screen
guy.
100%. But I thought the suit was probably like the best thing about the movie. It looked pretty good
Oh no, I liked his look. I'm just saying, like the way the effects were made it clearly look like a guy in a costume. I don't know.
because it was a guy in a costume.
I'll also say too, there were a lot of scenes where it was just the hand grabbing Anne.
They make good use of that hand.
Yeah, 'cause it was in 70s.
Same with the giant foot too. Because I remember when Jack was by the he's by the log. You just see like this giant foot prop just banging up. I can just imagine it's like a crane picking it up and slamming it.
Because it got to the point where like, oh my god, this hand is like it's more. I think I saw more of the hand than the actual Kong suit.
I think we should talk about some of the changes they made in this one.
Ugh, how we'll be here all
Besides
day.
taking place in the 30s, this takes place in the 70s. There is no Carl Denham. It is Fred Wilson who owns an oil company. And instead of trying to film a movie on a desert island, he wants to find new deposits of oil, which he believes he discovered through like infrared imagery. And then Jack Driscoll is not Jack Driscoll in this one. It is Jack Prescott, played by Jeff Bridges, who looks like a hippie. And
Why
he's a
even change the name?
yeah, he's a paleontologist in this one. And for the longest time, there is no Andaro. I thought her name was Dawn, but it's Dewan.
Wait, really?
Dwan. It's Dewan. Because I think there was a line where she said her name is Dawn, but she changed the two letters to because she's an actress. It was something like that. I think I remember that correctly. Maybe I'm going crazy.
That's
And
stupid.
yes, it's very stupid. There are no dinosaurs on Skull Island, just natives and a giant snake thing that Kong just rips in half. And other than that, I mean, it's like the basic beats, but this one is just so much worse.
Because I felt like it took away like the first one. It feels like almost like not optimistic, but like a sense of adventure. Like you're going to this undiscovered, like what people want to do. They want to like just sail off, go to undiscovered island, and discover all these things. Not maybe get attacked by an ape, but like there's that sense of like if you wonder. And this one just like it's so cynical. Like we're gonna find oil because it's the gas crisis of the 70s, and like no dinosaurs or any other spectacular creatures.
I
I don't know.
wonder
It just
if
felt
they didn't do dinosaurs because if Kong was in a suit, then it'd have to be a guy in a suit for a dinosaur, and it probably would have looked terrible.
I mean,
Yeah,
maybe it
it's
just
it's just it gives more excitement of him fighting a dinosaur than him just grabbing and ripping a snake in half.
Oh, well,
'cause
obviously, yeah.
the island's not really special. I mean, it's like I guess there's this ape, but like other than that, it's like any other island.
Yeah, yeah. There's no like mystery to it. Like, oh, what could we find? It's like, oh, we're just going
Yeah,
to find
island
oil.
lost to time.
Yeah, I mean, Like I said, I was just so distracted by the blue screen effects. Like even when Kong was shaking the people off the log, you could clearly see it was probably just some actor on his back on a blue screen that they filmed. It was so bad.
Yeah.
Even for its time. Like Star Wars, the original one came out a year after this, and it looked so much better. This just looks so bad.
Like the characters, it's like they even did anything with the characters. They were like worse versions of every character in the original. Like Jack, instead of being like maybe a bit misogynistic, but he was still like a hero. This guy was like some annoying hippie. Like didn't want to work with them. He was like he kept helping them. He was like, no, I don't want to help you in your evil oil company. Yeah. It's a great hippie.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of what else with this movie. It is very long. Oh, damn, you go.
We also have to talk about the ending change where it's not the Empire State Building, it's the Twin Towers. That also dates this movie too.
That didn't age well. I mean, again, when he's on the Twin Towers and it's just the blue screen effects just looks so bad.
Yeah.
And then they use they're more brutal in this one, obviously.
Oh yeah, it's like blood coming.
He gets messed up pretty bad.
They're shooting machine guns. They're using like a machine gun and flamethrowers too.
Yeah, he didn't even stand a chance.
Well, that's why I think it works better in the 30s. At least there's the possibility he could, get out of this. This is like
modern modern air quote helicopters just gunning him down with machine guns.
Imagine they brought like fighter jets out there, like modern 70s fighter jets. Shoot a missile at them.
Yeah. But and also too with his new look, well, the reason also too with his costume, I guess to compare it, but I don't like him. Like this one made me think of like Toho's Kong, where he's standing up more like a man. Like I liked in 1933 that he was on his he would move on his knuckles like an actual gorilla. I don't know. That took me out of it a bit because I think of like Toho's Kong, where he's more upright.
Well, this suit is way better than Toho's because I think Rick Baker made this stuff. And he had a layer to show that it was like muscles would contract when the suit was moving.
Oh no! It 100% looks better than whatever that orangutan man was in the original King Kong vs. Godzilla than King Kong Escapes. It's a better look, and it looks more like an actual ape. But I always liked him, especially in the original King Kong, that he was like 20-25 feet, but he still moved like a gorilla. It takes you a little out of it when he can move. I don't know, like that.
That didn't bother me personally, because I thought the suit, like I said, I thought Kong was probably the best part of this movie because he looked good. They just didn't really give him a whole lot to do. Like he could
also the main characters were awful.
Oh yeah, but he didn't fight anything besides that snake that he rips in half, and you see its guts. Oh, there's another thing I want to talk about. Again, with the animatronics in this movie, they have that full-scale Kong animatronic, and it's so bad when they have Kong at that oil festival at the end. There's like a brief shot where you see the full-scale model, and its arms are barely moving, and his eyes are glowing red. It looks so bad. Like, look it up when you're done. But it just looks so bad.
I'll take the goofy Kong smile over that.
Oh yeah, any day. Because they make good use of that arm and the foot stomping everywhere.
Oh, especially the arm, because that.
But and also too, we also have to say that this Kong was bigger than the
he's 50 feet tall in this one.
It's double the size. But, yeah,
was this received well critically?
It received mixed reviews. At the time, I think, too. Because everyone said, it's nowhere near as good as the original.
It was I can understand why it's remake the original King Kong, but it's why do this?
Yeah.
Well, at least when they remade it, they tried to do something a little different, which is respectable, but they just made a piece of garbage, which isn't respectable.
No, see, I feel like the original, going into the '05 one, I don't think you necessarily have to do something different because like you can kind of give this a fresh coat of paint because
Yeah,
it came out in 1933.
yeah. You just update it.
Well, I
Because
guess
this is just
the
like,
gap
why
between
bother?
1933 and 76 is a lot different than the gap of 1933 and 2005. So
No, I
I can
get
see
that, but
why
like,
they didn't. Yeah, Craig, you go.
no, even maybe like that's the time difference. Obviously, the '05 would have much better special effects. It's just you could still give it a fresh coat of paint in 1976 without changing so much of it where it's like, why bother at that point? Like it's ruining like the spirit of the original.
Well, I guess maybe the attitude back then was that they didn't want to do like a remake where it's like the same everything. Like maybe you'd say the '05 one is, even though the '05 one's a little different. I guess that was the attitude probably where they wanted to make it a little different.
Which I get,
Were
but
they?
like it doesn't sound hypocritical, but when people like remake movies now, it's usually from movies that are 20 years old and like they're just making the same thing, but instead of 2D, it's 3D computer graphics. There's no point in doing that, but like the 33 one, you could definitely give it a fresh coat of paint. I don't think that's the worst thing to do.
Well, I'm just saying maybe they thought it would be insulting to try to copy exactly the 33 one. So that's why they're like,
Yeah,
all right, maybe we'll
Were,
do something different.
were
yeah, but they
they?
might do it.
Were they? Were they influenced at all by Toho's Kong?
I don't know. I think it was definitely a lot cheaper to use a man in a suit than have to use stop motion. It's cheaper and less time consuming. I can see those are probably the factors into not doing stop motion again.
Probably just time between that. That takes forever. Whenever you shoot something, it's like, oh, I gotta do this for another like week or two.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention in the 33 one, it took Willis O'Brien 7 weeks to do the Kong versus T Rex scene. And that's like roughly a minute long.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it was a different time. Like that's what you had to do.
Well, that's all they could do.
Yeah, but I'm saying like that's it's just it's a different time.
Yeah.
You imagine like halfway through, he's like, "Screw it, we're doing guys in costumes," and then they do like the original Godzilla where the guy like almost dies because the suit's so heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy and it's hot in there, and it's like they're cooking.
Yeah, he's leaving all his weight in water.
But yeah, that's all I
Mad
really.
fresh.
This one, yeah, I don't really have much to say.
It is pretty
I
boring.
did,
I'll give
I
Craig
do,
that.
I do applaud the effort to give Kong a different look, and like I will say that the suit, him, Kong himself, the suit looked good. It just takes you out of it when they don't blend it well and they don't use this blue screen and sets well at all. It takes you, I don't know. For me, it took me out of it, but I do overall. I did like Kong in the movie. Like you said, he was the best part of it.
Yeah, and as I said, I commend them for trying to do something different, even if it wasn't good. It's still not a good movie. Their attempt failed, but they easily could have done like a. Could you imagine like if Disney had the rights to King Kong, they would do like a Lion King.
But see, the difference between like that is like those movies are barely like 20 or 30 years apart, and like one's in 2D, one's in 3D. Like there's not. I feel like that's not worthy of remake. This, the original King Kong, you can kind of remake and just give it a fresh coat of paint. Like there's nothing you could do a lot more with it. Like we seen the '05 one.
Let's just get to the '05 on Kong
Yeah,
because Craig is
Craig, he
dying to
can't keep
talk
his
about
pants
No,
on
no,
for that
no.
one.
I'm just saying, like,
it.
if you were to remake something, I feel like the original King Kong is okay. If you want to remake it, like almost shot for shot, not the Lion King or whatever Disney wants to do, because there's no point in doing that. You're not changing anything about it. There's nothing to update or improve.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think like when it comes to King Kong, the first one is a classic because it came out during its own time period. I'm sure if it came out today, no one would care. That's why you don't touch that one. You don't really remake it. The '05 one, I guess we'll get to now, is the same thing pretty much, but they added a lot more. And they made some changes to characters, which we'll talk about, and we'll probably have a lot to talk about. But I did see the '05 one in theaters. I know Craig didn't, because I remember. You know how you remember weird things? Craig, I think you were seeing Cheaper by the Dozen too, with some friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember that because I was supposed to see it with Daniel, but then I got sick because Daniel used to have a pet rabbit, and I'm allergic to rabbits. I almost died. I'm kidding. I didn't almost die, but I got hives. So I saw it later, and I liked the '05 one, even though it's 187 minutes long. It's very long. And I know, Craig, now you can talk about it. You can take your pants off now.
You're assuming they're already on.
Oh, oh God.
Well, like I was saying before, like, this was basically. I mean, obviously there's some differences, but it was almost not a shot for shot, but like a very, I would say, faithful remake. Because I feel like they tried to at least keep most of the spirit, and most of the characters are, well, most of the characters are the same.
I
Story's mainly
disagree.
the same. What?
They're like mostly the same characters in name only.
I mean, they're still like function the same in the story and stuff. I mean, the only real, I will say, Jack has probably the biggest difference, but even I still like most of the characters are
No,
similar enough.
Carl's the. I'd say Carl and Jack and even Englehorn are like the biggest differences. And Anne too. They give her a lot more of a backstory. I guess let's talk about Carl Denham because I saw
Well,
people.
giving some more of a backstory, I wouldn't say is necessarily changing them that much.
Well, no, I would say Carl's a lot different because Peter Jackson said they based him off of Orson Welles, and Carl Denham is a complete scumbag in this movie. He does not care if his people get killed. He just wants to. He's very evil. I guess you could
Yeah.
say he's the real villain of the movie.
The what it's messed up but funny is when he tries to use that guy's death to motivate him to finish the film.
He says that a
He
few
does it twice.
times.
He does it twice. When
Like
they're
he
all
first
struggling. Yeah, you go. You go.
he when the Raptors are chasing him, he first makes sure to pull up the camera thing, the film, and then pull up the guy.
When they're on the log, he's filming them, Kong attacking them on the log, and then he's telling the guy to bring the camera up before he falls off. He's a complete scumbag, and I think in this kind of story, it works. It works with him being a scumbag.
Yeah, and Jack Black nailed the role too.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people not like Jack Black's casting, but I thought he did a great job. He plays that like weaselly, like silent evil kind of guy well.
Yeah,
Because I
because
think
too,
people.
you
You go.
think you hear. I think the drawback is you think of Jack Black, you think of a certain character like him in like School of Rock, or he's like this goofy guy, and his character is completely not that. So I
Jumanji.
guess it was yeah, it was the original
Well, this is
Backlash.
before Jumanji, Craig.
No, I'm
But
saying, but like
like
that's what you think of him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, you think of that goofy guy or like but he completely went in the opposite direction, and I thought nailed the role.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good.
So I feel like people complain about him. They seem like they want somebody who's like either more evil. It's like that's not really the point.
He's driven too much by ambition. That's his problem.
Yeah, he's not like twirling his mustache, but he's just like you said, like more of like a sleazy, just trying to get a movie done. Like that. That's really it.
Well,
He's just
well,
trying to get a movie
well,
done.
well, also too, and I think this movie does a really good job on. Well, initially, like you can be bored by the beginning on how it takes them a while to get onto the island and introduce Kong. The setup pays off though because you look into the backstory and it gives you a reason and motivation why all these characters are here. Like, for example, like it kind of justifies Carl that like he's desperate to get this movie made because he's basically broke and he's out of luck.
And he's
Like
about to
when
get
they show
arrested.
him, yeah, exactly. So
He commits a
yeah, and
couple crimes.
yeah, he had to sneak onto the ship and everything, like so to evade the police. So not saying that he's justified for doing that, but it gives you a reason why he's really ambitious and sleazy about it because he's desperate. And same with Anne too. Like she's down on her luck, so and he manipulates her into doing this. So
He manipulates everybody.
yeah, but it's a good payoff though. They take their time to set it all, but it pays off in the end.
Yeah, the other big change too, as Craig was saying, was Jack Driscoll. He's a screenwriter in this movie, and so it kind of makes him like the what's the word?
the underdog or the reluctant hero.
Yeah, the reluctant hero, because he's literally out of his element entirely. He's not the macho man that the original Jack was. He's literally a
Like Bruce
screenwriter.
Baxter.
Yeah, holding a
Yeah,
gun. So I
Which, I
like
mean,
I
I
like the
feel like it
change
worked
of
for the
Jack.
story.
Yeah.
Probably the only change that I guess, like you said, I thought I said most of it. He was probably the biggest change. The 76 changed like everything. It felt like nobody was like themselves.
Oh yeah.
These most people kind of feel like themselves, except for maybe Jack.
Eaglehorn's a little different. I mean, he's given more screen time in this movie. He kills a native. Okay, that's all right. He yeah, he actually hates Denham because he's catching on to what Denham's doing.
Well, there's a lot more characters. They get the whole, the crew. You got Bruce Baxter.
Yeah. Everyone loves Bruce
But
Baxter, Kyle Chandler. I like how he always calls Denham. He's like Denham. Are you sure about this, Denham?
but I do like that, it takes time to introduce the crew and like, because then it actually feels like, you know actual people on this adventure together.
I
But yeah,
agree.
you got a crew of people trying to survive with this giant monkey in this, island trapped in time.
Yeah.
Plus, at least when some of these characters die too, you guess you can feel kind of sad as opposed to, I guess, the original where people died. It was like, who cares?
Some guy was just eaten by a brontosaurus. Who cares?
Or what was it? Was it Lumpy?
Is Eddie Circus?
Yeah, where he dies.
His death is pretty brutal.
Or like, especially because his was it Choi, his like best buddy on the crew, he gets killed.
Yeah.
He just loses his
There's
mind.
Mr. Hayes and Jimmy in the
Yeah.
movie. That father son relationship. Mr. Hayes just gets thrown across the side of the the log and dies.
Yikes.
But I thought, like Craig was saying, this one's definitely just like a nice, fresh coat of paint with with everything. Kong, especially, I like his look. It was a bit different than the original one, but overall, in its core, it's the same. But
I mean, they're going for like a more realistic-ish look
yeah,
as opposed to the
yeah.
model.
But and also too, I guess the biggest difference we'd have to say to touch on this one and the 33 one, is they spend so much time on the island and they explore it and they give you actually like a feel like this. It takes time to actually show, how this island is like lost in time.
I
It's
don't think they're on the
completely
island that long in the movie.
this one.
Yeah, I don't think they're on the island as long as you think they are.
It's gotta be at
It
least
feels it feels longer.
Oh, they're on about an hour. Yeah, I'm looking at it
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
I mean, that's
As
because the
compared
movie's
to the
3 hours
original one,
long.
yeah. But that's what. But normally you could say, oh, they took too long on it. But I thought they did a great job with it. How they actually took time to explore different parts of it, and like they fall down to the pit and they're dealing with all those giant insects, or Kong's dealing. When Kong's there, they have the giant bats, or when they're then there's the V Rexes as they're called. Um, I thought like they did a great job exploring the island, actually making you feel like you're the island is actually taking time to actually explore the island for what it is. But I'll put a disclaimer too, like because I saw this one as a kid. This one does have a special place in my heart. Like I absolutely, yeah, I love this one.
For
This is
me,
the only one I've ever seen until like this year. I saw the original and the 76 one, like for this episode.
I don't really care that they're on the island, like them exploring it. I think what's better is that they focus more on Kong, and they treat him like a character in
Oh,
like the first movie, where he's just
oh
like some
no,
mindless monster.
yeah. Oh no, yeah, no, that I wasn't saying that was the best thing about this one. I just
No, I know
thought
what
that
you're
was a
saying though.
great
Like they
addition.
spent time, but I'm
But
saying me personally, I don't care that they spent a lot of time on the island. I think it's better if
Well,
they spend more time with Kong.
yeah. Which in this one too, this was another big difference was that they actually humanized Kong and took time to actually give like him and Anne like some sort of relationship. So you actually felt sympathetic towards him. More sympathetic than like the original one because the original one he was just they didn't really take obviously
It's kind of a
they're limited
jerk
by
in the
their time
first
and
one.
everything. Yeah, but this one they actually show a side to him where it's like you can see you actually feel bad for him by the end of it.
Yeah, he's
Like you
also like the
truly feel
last.
Clapping.
bad for him.
He's the last of his kind because he saw like some
Yeah,
monkey skulls when Jack is climbing into his den at the top of the mountain.
yeah, and like the I always like the one scene with when him and Anne, like the two scenes I really liked was he when he brings her back to like where he was hanging out, and she was like dancing and stuff, and he was like not amused, but he
Oh,
would just knock her over, and he was just laughing at her
yeah,
like that game
he does
amused
his
him.
dumb monkey sounds.
And then like she just says no, and he gets angry and like tries to intimidate her, and then like the boulder falls on him, and embarrassed, he just goes and sits in the corner.
Yeah, they give Anne a lot to do in this one, obviously,
Yeah,
because in the first one, like Fay Ray just screams the whole movie,
yeah.
but this one she's an actual character, and she actually like doesn't put up with a lot of Kong's nonsense. She tells him no. She tells a 25-foot monkey no.
Or the other the scene before she gets rescued when actually two more scenes. It was um when they were on the top of his like den and they're like looking out over the sunrise, like the sunset, and Kong's just enjoying, and she comes up and she does like the beautiful thing with the heart, and like Kong you could see kind of understands her, and then they do that later on the top of the Empire State Building. Like I thought those were nice touches and additions
Yeah, she
to like
actually
both their
like
characters.
likes Kong in this movie, as opposed to the first one where Anne wanted to get away from that creature.
Yeah, everyone hated him in
I
the
was
first one.
harassing him. I was harassing
Yeah.
her. Like she actually felt bad when she was like pleading Kong to go away when like they're trying to capture him, and then he like breaks free in Skull Island before he gets shot
And
with a
they like
harpoon.
yeah. Yeah. And also too um the V-Rex fight where he saves her, where he takes on three of them.
Kept getting
I always,
crazier.
I know. I love that was one of my favorite scenes. That might have been my favorite scene growing up. Was just that sequence of him fighting those three.
I always love that one V Rex who was like dangling and trying to like get her with his mouth.
Yeah, like if
Like
you
there's
notice,
some.
Kong bites the V-Rex's tongue off.
Yeah. Was he like just takes a rock, drops it on the one,
Yeah,
and then like when she falls with the one V-Rex, you see him like swinging in the vines with it, like crushing its head into the side.
yeah, Kong's pretty aggressive in this movie.
But it
Yeah, when
was
he
more,
snaps its jaw back and like plays with it.
yeah. But it was more like in a protective way of her. Like he himself just wanted to be kind of left alone, but it was more in the way to protect her.
Yeah,
Um,
he's not as much of a jerk as he is in the first movie.
yeah. But that's why I like this take where it was more like this was more of a Beauty and a Beast, like where he's more misunderstood. She spends time with him and sees him that he's not like just some monster. Where that line I think pays off more in the end, where it wasn't the airplanes, it was Beauty that killed the Beast. Like that one, it kind of hits more home because this movie took the time to explore that relationship.
Well, also, it looks 100% better than a
Oh
claymation
yeah.
model.
Well, obviously,
I did also
you'd
the
hope it looked better.
yeah, but also too like the point I was making before about they took time to like explore the island. I love the sequence with the brachiosauruses and they're running with the herd and they're
Oh, I
also trying to
think that
escape.
scene went on too long. I think it went on way too long.
Well, I just like that scene, like where then they're also trying to escape the Velociraptors.
I
Too.
think because I think everyone clowns on that scene too. It does get pretty bad towards the end, where you could just
Oh,
tell they're on a giant blue screen.
I was
yeah.
thought it was funny they'll run off the cliff.
Oh yeah, that one guy, like the brontosaurus, falls off the cliff and it takes a guy with him.
But I did also, but I like the part of that scene, like where Bruce Baxter's running and
Oh
the
yeah, coming
Velociraptor
through.
was. Yeah, excuse me. No, but or when they're or no, it was Jack when he was getting chased by the Velociraptor, runs up next to him, and then it notices it like does a double take at the guy next to him that he was going slower, and then goes after that guy.
I think he saw Carl, and then Jack
Yeah,
he like checks it, and then the thing falls, and
yeah.
he throws his shoulder into it rather.
Hmm. But I guess that's why like when we look back and we see we grew up with the '05 one, so this was more of an adventure movie, and like when people were like saying the 33 one was like a horror movie, that's we look at it through that lens where it's like, oh no, this was more of an adventure movie.
Yeah, like a fun adventure movie too. At it, like
Yeah,
that's yeah, like you said, I was shocked, and it's always been just like a I don't know a classic, really.
yeah. Honestly, you could cut out every other King Kong movie there is, just put the 33 and '05 one, and you're good to go.
What about Godzilla vs Kong?
Yeah, cut
Shut
that
your
out.
mouth.
Cut that
Shut
out.
your mouth. You can cut that and Adam Winger's goatee out of it.
Yeah.
Ah, good.
But
The hate for the authority.
But I will say I remember the end watching. I always hated the ending of this one as a kid because I loved Kong in this one. So like I really when he dies and like she's crying because it's like the last thing he sees is her before he drops. You know, like I as a kid I always hated it because you grew to love him in this one.
Yeah, giant monkey just gets shot down.
Yeah, but
I
even
like
in
how
that
he
too.
puts up a fight in this one because in the original one he just gets gunned down immediately.
Yeah, and same with the '76 one. He's getting
Well, the
flamethrower
'76 one he didn't
shot at.
stand a chance. Like
He's
there
getting
was
flamethrower and shot.
no way he could fight back in the '76 one.
Yeah. But and also too, like, with this one, like you see like the expression on his face, like as he's getting worn down and with the more bullets he's getting hit by, you know. But Andy Serkis did an absolutely great job as Kong.
Like this cemented him as like the king of motion capture.
Yeah. Which did you guys ever see like the behind the scenes footage of like how they did the mocap with him and everything?
Yeah, he had like stilts for his arms to walk like a monkey.
Yeah. Well, and also too, like most of the audio, like the roar was from him.
The whole thing is him.
Yeah, like no, I'm saying it was impressive that they didn't really have to like add too much to the sound. It was really just him.
Because I think the original Kong, I remember reading it somewhere. His roar was like a mix of a lion and some other animal that was played backwards. Something like that. I don't remember what it was.
It's no Godzilla where they're using a string.
Yeah, they're not using an instrument. Trying to think of the other things with the 2005 one.
Bruce Baxter.
Yes, Bruce Baxter is great in this movie.
Like it's the first scene we see him when he was playing with the mustache.
Yeah, because Jimmy
The
went to his
comb.
cabin and drew a mustache on all of his posters. And Kyle Chandler honestly just looks and sounds like he was plucked out of the 30s. He just
Yeah,
sounds he just
he really
sounds like
fits
one of those
that.
guys.
Hey pal, wake up.
Yeah. Do you
But
know
that
that
I
there's
did
40 minutes cut from this movie? There's a whole
really.
40-minute YouTube video that has all the deleted scenes. And there's more with Kyle Chandler in it.
Also, I think just a Peter Jackson thing. Like, there's so much lost footage, or not lost, but like cut stuff from even Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Any chance you can get to talk about Lord of the Rings, huh? Jeez.
Yeah, because I know they filmed that lost scene in the pit.
Yeah, they filmed. He read like the script of the original movie, and they redid it for the 33 one to what it might have looked like. It's
Yeah,
pretty
that
cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was definitely the most horrifying scene in the entire movie.
No, I was talking about he redid like with the stop motion techniques for the 33 one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
redid that.
Oh. Oh, I thought you were talking about the '05 pit scene, because that one I hated as a kid.
Oh yeah, it's pretty gross.
Those giant crickets and those giant worms. Ugh.
Bruce Baxter saves the day as usual.
Yeah. But to touch more on Bruce Baxter, like he was a shallow, actor. He was full of himself, but at least he was honest with it. I did like that about his character. Like he was just honest. He's like, listen, I'm just an actor with a gun who's lost his motivation. Like he knew what his role was. He wasn't trying to be this hero or anything.
I don't know why,
like he did help her.
I
Like,
was
he
gonna
did
say,
try to look for her.
I don't know why Jack scoffed at the end when Carl said the hero of the story was Bruce Baxter when he's presenting Kong on Broadway. Yes, Jack did get Anne back, but Bruce Baxter saved everybody from the ravine with all of the spiders and insects in it. Bruce Baxter's the real hero of the story because Eaglehorn even said that he insisted on a search party to come get them.
Yeah.
Like I said, he just because he's not like a rah-rah kind of guy doesn't mean he can't do good.
Yeah.
Oh, and did you know that? Maybe you guys noticed when they're filming the scene on the boat with Bruce Baxter and Anne. They use the exact same dialogue between Jack and Anne from the original movie. Did you know that?
It's pretty cool.
Because Anne said something like, "Oh, I never been on a boat before," and then Bruce Baxter says, "Oh, I never been on one with a woman before." Straight up 33 one.
It's a
People who
nice
don't
little
belong on
touch.
ships.
Yeah, man, Jack was just he's something else in the original. Did you also know that Peter Jackson owns one of the original Kong armatures from the first movie? He owns one of them, like just the skeleton, doesn't have the clay or fur on it. Did you know that? Because there's 4 models they used in the original movie.
No, I didn't.
I mean, didn't he say he was like obsessed with this movie growing up, right? That's why he wanted to remake it.
He also owns, I think, the Triceratops or the Brontosaurus. He owns one of those two.
Peter Jackson knows how to do some remakes, man. I'll give him that.
What else did he remake?
Well, or adaptations, I should say.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say he didn't remake Lord of the Rings.
Adaptations.
See, Daniel made a reference, not me.
Well, technically, he did remake The Hobbit. Technically, because there was the cartoon. Technically,
There was also a Lord of the Rings animated movie.
Yeah, no one talks about those though. No one cares.
technically they're remakes. But yeah, but I appreciate that about him, that as a director, not only is he the director of it, but he's actually a fan, so he wants to pay proper tribute to the original. It's a nice
It's a labor of love, not some cynical grab.
not just, oh, I'm gonna do whatever I want with it, as you get most of these like writers and directors now.
Yeah, Peter Jackson also wanted Fay Wray, who was still alive at the time, to deliver the final lines. And I think it's a cool tribute, but it would have made no sense that this random stranger would just say. I think sometimes Peter Jackson, like, his ideas get the best of him, where he just thinks of incredibly stupid things.
Yeah.
It would have ruined. Like, Carl had to say it, and Fay Wray ended up dying anyway. But
it comes from a good place, but just not the right.
Yeah, like that could be like an alternate scene.
Well, they did make a reference to Fay Wray earlier in the movie when Carl's in the car with Preston, and he's asking about which actresses are available. Then Carl asks for Fay, then Preston says she's doing a picture with RKO. Then he says, "Cooper, I should have known," referring to RKO. They released the original Kong and Marion Cooper.
Oh.
Stuff you plebs wouldn't get or pick up on.
I got that one.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah, because I rewatched it recently, and I did get that reference later in life.
Did you know that also? The orchestra music they play when Kong's all chained up was the exact same music from the 33 one.
That one I picked up on.
Yeah. I like how he has these little nods to it. Like, it's not overblown nostalgia. I mean, you can't have nostalgia, really, because everyone from the first movie was dead by this time, like 2005.
But also, too, it's a remake. They're trying to recreate some of the scenes from the original. You can't call it nostalgia baiting when
Yeah.
it's a remake.
Now, if only Kong was on a Death Star.
Yeah. And he was holding a blue lightsaber and trying to slice somebody in half.
A blue beam goes into the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
They have beams now? They have beams now?
But see, this is why like I don't mind this as a remake because it came from a very good place. Was very faithful. Wasn't cynical. Wasn't a cynical crash grab. Wasn't a remake of a movie from 20 years ago that doesn't need a remake. I know you could argue the original doesn't, but
It really
it was
didn't. But
sold. What?
it really didn't need a remake, but this
I
one
feel
did
like
it enough justice.
because I feel like if you were to remake a movie, it should be something like from the 30s or 20s or maybe 40s, or like maybe
like,
things that the technology couldn't do,
Well,
things
you
they
could
couldn't do
always
now.
argue though that it's a product of its time. Like you wouldn't want to remake, let's say, The Wizard of Oz. It wouldn't be the same. Even with all these updates and technology, and you could be even more faithful to the book or whatever, it still wouldn't compare. And I think that is the problem that King Kong faces. Not this one in particular, but I'm just saying like you shouldn't really remake it. And I can only see in probably 10 years they're gonna try to remake King Kong again. I can already see it.
well, well, they still have to finish off this King Kong that's in the MonsterVerse.
Yeah, they don't care. They'll remake it anyway.
I mean, I'm generally against remakes, but I feel like this is one of the few ones where I feel like this was okay.
Yeah,
I
I
know
would
what you're
say.
saying, but I
Yeah,
feel like
Yeah,
this is where a case where I don't think it's the worst thing in the world.
yeah. But that's why I like this one because it took the original one and explored it more, just adding things that fit. So
now the question is, is Peter Jackson gonna remake The Son of Kong? It's the real question.
Does he even make movies anymore? I mean, I don't.
or Colin, is he gonna remake King Kong Lives?
Oh god. No, he'll remake Son of Kong, and he'll pick up with Jack Black running for his life. Did you guys ever see Son of Kong?
No.
I saw it when I was little.
Well,
I
we don't.
like
When else are we going to talk about this? I'll briefly talk about Son of Kong, unless you guys have anything else to say about the 2005 one.
It's great. It's definitely my favorite.
yeah, I agree.
So Son of
It's a
Kong
classic.
actually came out the same year as the first Kong, and they were 9 months apart. They came out, and
It's kind of crazy.
it has Kong's son Kiko, who is a white albino monkey who's shorter than Kong. And I forget why Denim wants to go back to Skull Island. It doesn't matter because the movie's like 70 minutes long or something. But the
Wasn't
movie,
that one like he was bankrupt or something like that? He was getting
yeah,
sued.
he got sued up and down Broadway by the people of New York, and he's hiding out in a hut or in a house because of all the lawsuits. And at the end, the island somehow sinks. I don't remember. I think Kiko fights a bear because I saw this a couple years ago, and yeah, the movie ends with the island sinking, and Kiko holds up Denim as he drowns and dies, and Denim gets off the island. So yeah,
Tough scene.
I just I don't remember that one really except parts because I saw it again when I was really little, but I didn't care for it.
and I guess real quickly we'll talk about King Kong Lives, a sequel to the '76 one. Came out 10 years later. Basically, they have Kong's body. They give him a metal heart. Kong finds a mate. They have a baby, and Kong gets killed again at the end. That's pretty much the movie. And Linda Hamilton's in the movie too.
Yeah, yeah, that one was pretty bad.
Yeah, he gets like shot by tanks. I believe at the end he gets like they destroy him.
I feel like the director like had like some
It's the
like
same guy. It's the same guy who directed the '76 one.
yeah. I feel like did he have like a run in with a gorilla? Like this was his little like jab at just gorillas everywhere. Because in the '76 one, this one like they really made sure Kong died.
Yeah, it's very. It feels like sadistic what they do to Kong. Honestly, Stupid monkey. Yeah. And I guess maybe do you guys want to talk about King Kong as a character and why? I know we're all against Kong being in the MonsterVerse, but I guess we'll tell people why, and it's because, as we've been saying for years, Kong is a one note, one story character where it doesn't really make sense to have him. There's the one story, Beauty killed the Beast. That's fine. That's all Kong's really good for because he's just a giant monkey, and he's very. If you have him in the modern day, your local sheriffs could kill him.
Yeah, but American can kill him.
Yeah, like if he was in Texas, he'd be done for.
or just send him to Chicago.
Yeah, those gangbangers would kill him too. I don't know. It's just such a. I hate the idea of having Kong in the MonsterVerse, and now he's like this super monkey. I think it's just so lame and so dumb.
Or at very least, you just don't have to have him and Godzilla fight. Like he is meant to be on a smaller scale. Like if you wanted to keep him on Skull Island and leave him there, and he's just there in the MonsterVerse, that's fine. But it's just like now when they try to bring him in against Godzilla, when originally, like you're saying, Kong is meant to be more this simple one note character. He's not even 30 feet, and then you try to pair him up to Godzilla. It's
Like he has an iconic story. Like I don't see what the big deal is. It's one of the most famous stories where everyone knows who King Kong is. Like it's a famous story. Just leave it at that. You don't have to keep dragging the character back from the grave to have him fight some other monster.
Yeah, Kong already has his place in cinema history. He's definitely it's one of the most iconic movies of all time, ever. Easily. Everyone knows King Kong, as Craig is saying. I don't know, it's just so dumb and so lame to have him fight Godzilla, and it feels so weird. It doesn't really feel like Kong at all.
It feels forced.
Well, it is, yeah.
I'm actually reading right now. Has been since ranked by King Kong, the original, has been since ranked by Rotten Tomatoes as the greatest horror film of all time.
Oh,
which is really weird.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. It's on the Wikipedia.
So those RKO shills making the movie look good.
King Kong opened in New York City on March 2nd, 1933, to rave reviews and has since been ranked by Rotten Tomatoes as the greatest horror film of all time and the 56th greatest film of all time.
It's those RKO shills. I don't believe it.
That's what it says, man.
I'm just telling you, a lot of RKO shills.
Gotta watch out for those RKO shills.
But
there are so many of them these days.
But regardless, the point still stands. It's an iconic film, and he's an iconic character for a specific story, and that's that. You don't need to bring him over to Godzilla, who now has. Originally, Godzilla was just a horror. He was a horror character in his original, but has since become something else. Like they're just separate. You don't need to bring them. Like just.
Are you blame the Japs for this one? Because they're the ones that wanted to have him cross over.
I mean,
well, real quick, in Japan, King Kong was more popular than Godzilla at that time when they fought.
True. But it was their idea to have him cross over and fight.
Blame Universal. They're the ones that gave him the rights. Or no, I think at the time it was RKO. Blame RKO.
Go against the shills.
Don't think that's true, Craig.
But
I'm saying,
yeah.
I blame the Japanese.
Jeez.
That's a nice quote that could get taken out of context.
Yes, very much so. But yeah,
keep Kong. The Japs get in your way.
keep Kong in his own movie. Don't. It's dumb having him fight other things.
Because
he's a tragic beast. He's not an action hero.
No, it reminds me like when you're kids, and it's like, oh, it'd be cool if Godzilla fought King Kong. And then when you get older, you try to think about the actual logistics. I'd be like, it's kind of dumb.
This is pretty lame.
Again, King Kong was fighting dinosaurs. Like, It's dinosaurs to the actual nature, not Godzilla who's fighting, radioactive monsters
This is
and
a
stuff
guy who died,
and
or
aliens.
a creature that died by airplanes.
So not even just like the logistics of it. It's also just like the story. Like Godzilla could fight other monsters because that's what his series is about. Kong is not about that. Like there's no reason to have him fight. It's a clash of
He's a
what the
tragic
characters are
beast.
about.
He's a tragic beast. I thought I'd just give my 2 cents on that. It's lame. It's a bad
I feel like you're
idea.
not doing the character any service. I mean,
That's what I'm saying. If you are going to include him in the MonsterVerse, keep him on Skull Island and his own adventures, like where
I
he's
think
fighting.
no, I disagree at all. I think they should have never just brought him back. I think.
Oh no, that I agree with you there. But if you are going to bring him back in the MonsterVerse, keep him just on Skull Island doing his own thing.
No if. They should have never done it. It was a mistake.
how about a King Kong multiverse movie? All
Oh
those
my
different
God.
Kongs team up against Mechani Kong.
Oh my God.
Everything's multiverse these days.
Yeah.
I get a Rick and Morty writer to do it.
And then
Yeah, get Michael Waldron.
and then Kong from Skull Island, they go back in time to pull out the 1933 one to help.
But then they get
he's-
Kiko.
But the 33 one, he survived the Empire State Building. He's like an old veteran. You guys,
They give him a metal heart.
No. He has a peg leg. He somehow lost a leg, and he has an eye patch.
he's got scurvy.
and he has like an old beard.
Got a nice eye patch too.
We have
just
to
for
bring in
fun of it.
Mechani Kong, who's trying to like find some mineral. I think. I think in that movie they're trying to find an element. Like he wasn't supposed to fight Kong. They're just using him to find something.
And again, in that one too, he just fights another giant dinosaur,
Yeah.
Gorosaurus.
But enough about that. I think we all like the 33 and the 2005 one, but the 76 one is really bad.
But which one's your favorite?
I think you can't compare them because the 2005 one would not be as good as it is without the 33 one. It's unfair to compare them.
I guess.
The only reason, like I said, I'm biased, and I think Craig, you are too. We grew up with the 05 one, so it has a special place in our heart.
It's the only one I've seen until this year.
But so that's the only reason I would prefer that one, and also too because digitally. But again, it's products of their time. I'm not saying it's better than the 33 one. I just personally prefer the 05 one.
If you want a faster paced story, the 33 one is a lot better. It's literally 87 minutes shorter.
Do you remember when Kong Skull Island came out? People were trying to say that was better than the 05 one.
No.
Get out.
No, I wasn't making an argument. Saying other people were.
Was one of those people Brie Larson?
Oh God.
I hope not. People online are saying, "Yeah, this was so much better. It wasn't as boring as the original." People got no taste, I tell you.
You could argue that one is boring.
You can argue all of them are boring, honestly.
Well,
how dare you say that about 05 when it has Kyle Chandler? And nothing is ever boring with Kyle Chandler.
Yes, this is your Bruce Baxter baby.
I think that's enough of that. Oh,
I'm just saying, reminded me of that. And, yeah.
What's wrong with you? He muted himself.
Hiding his shame.
We have been the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I'm Colin.
I'm Craig.
And I'm Daniel.
What's wrong with you?